crossroads of your life.
Hello and welcome to Off the Shelf Reviews.
I put the care in Massacre.
And I'm Gary, and today we're going to review and discuss Massacre at Central High, which released in 1976, from writer-director Rene Daalder. Iain, why don't you give us the synopsis?
Well, the story follows David, played by Derrel Maury. He's the new kid in school and luckily is hooked up with his old friend Mark, who's going to show him the ropes around his new school. But unfortunately, Mark is hanging out with the local bullies who run the school, and they don't like David. After they cause a bit of an accident with David's leg, David decides he's going to get revenge on the bullies. But will he take out the bullies and replace them with something worse?
Well, much like the director, I didn't watch this film for decades after its release.
No.
Well, the director for this film, he almost disowned it because his music for the film was, well, replaced.
Yes.
And this film's introduction, its opening of the title, and of course the first thing that you hear is the film's music score and its song, Crossroads. You might wish to just turn the film off straight away because it does not set you up for what is about to come. So I think that they edited in visuals of the film to immediately try to get your attention and distract you from this really corny, overbearing, soppy song.
Yeah.
Which really does a disservice to this film. And so I can kind of understand why the director kind of went, nope.
He did a David Fincher and was like, fuck that.
I think he came around on it eventually because this film managed to achieve some kind of cult status and eventually finally got a Blu-ray release.
You're at the crossroads of your life. Crossroads of your life, a runner chasing dreams.
Yeah, this was a weird one. I'd never even heard of it. Don't think I'd ever seen any posters of it. And when I hit play, what really threw me off was that explosion.
Right.
At the beginning, I was like, did somebody just explode? Why would you put that at the beginning of your movie? And then the title comes up, you know, Massacre at Central High. And then we see who we'll realize is David, the main character, running along, and then every now and again you get this edited shot of somebody's face, couple of people making love by firelight. I love that shot of him running along and then standing at the cliff edge just looking at the sunrise.
Right.
That was quite a good shot. Like I'll give the director or the cinematographer some credit for this movie. There are some really nice shots you've captured, but it is 1976. There wasn't really much you could do. You had to literally get it there and then and hope you didn't fuck it up.
Well, I believe they also shot the film in under 4 weeks.
Wow.
So, considering the amount that goes on in this film, they must have gone at one heck of a pace.
I mean, because right at the start, like I said, we've got Derrel Maury playing David, who's just turned up at Central High. He's the new guy. He's trying to find the student lounge, and he talks to a girl, Teresa, played by Kimberly Beck, who would go on to play Trisha Jarvis in
Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
Yeah, now, I like the final chapter, and after watching this film, it's going to be a little bit awkward watching, you know, Trish Jarvis, Teresa in this. Oh, because there's a lot of full frontal nudity in this movie.
Ah, right.
Like, there's no warning that there's going to be full frontal nudity. It's just like
a 70s exploitation film. It just they don't need to tell you. You should just expect it.
Yeah, but there's some 70s movies that you think are going to have full frontal nudity, and then they don't. And then there's movies that you don't think of that just go, bang, here you go, and you're like, whoa.
Well, here's Bush and Cock. Whoa.
It's like, they didn't even bother trying to edit shots so that it's right there. But
well, random bit of trivia for you.
It wasn't his cock.
It was considered rather tame in parts of Europe.
Wow.
Especially the Italians that looked at this film and went, nah. We're going to rename this Sexy Jeans. We're just going to splice some explicit, hardcore, you know what, into the film.
That's it.
Spice it up a little
That's
bit.
It. And I watched this film all the way through, and now part of me is thinking, where did you make the hardcore cuts? Because there's a couple of points, I think, but you wouldn't be able to get many. But like we said, David hooks up with his friend Mark, played by Andrew Stevens. And Mark's kind of a nice guy, but like we said, he's in with the local bullies. We've got Paul, the big blonde guy who's got a van. We've got Craig, the moody, broody guy who doesn't like David. And then you've got Bruce, the leader, the rich guy. And these three guys seem to run the school. Like, we're just going to go off the bat now. You don't see any adults or teachers until like...
The last 5-10 minutes. The
last 5-10 minutes of the movie. Like, these kids are kind of always in school, but they don't really have any kind of role model figures to kind of keep them in line. So these three bullies are kind of running everything.
Yeah, I immediately got kind of a Lord of the Flies-esque nature from the film.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'd be like, no, this is more like Heathers and Lord of the Flies.
Yeah.
But yeah, you get a sense of the weirdness of this, other than there seeing no teachers or no adults, but just the dialogue, the way that he comes through the school, when he gets to their lounge, the student lounge. I was looking at that, I was like, the student lounge is really like with the hardwood floor, the carpets, the chairs, the sofas, the bookcases.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, but that reminded me of like when you see like American universities with their fraternities and stuff, and how they do up their houses, and it's just like the coolest shit for the coolest kids. And so with these three bullies, I was like, oh, they've taken this room. Yeah. This is their kind of base of operations.
But then I was like, okay, so this is kind of like a fascist, like totalitarian kind of democracy that they're running over the school. Because there's no adults, they just get to lay down the law. And in essence, keep the school running normally.
Yeah. like I thought they were bad, but they weren't really bad.
Well, we see their escalating
interactions
with the students when it's a case of, we're going to go into the library and, bully the nerd. We're going to knock all the books off the shelves and bury them under the books.
Nice. That wasn't nice.
Yeah. The guy in the showers. In the gym, we're going to force him up the rope with a knife up his butt. I'll get him going.
Yeah.
And then they start towel whipping him. So I'm like, okay, yeah, these are just not nice people. These are the assholes. You've probably all come across it in work or in school in your own lives.
It was also like something as simple as parking your car.
Yeah.
One side of the car park is for the bullies and their cool cars, and they don't want to get them scratched by any of the crappy cars that they see on the other side. But that's where David, our like lone wolf kind of anti-hero character, is like, no, I'm just going to keep parking over there because I like parking there. And you also see it with Teresa, Mark's girlfriend. She parks away from them. And I saw it with her character. I'm like, ooh, I feel like she's going to have some issues because she's already got issues right from the start with the three bullies.
That's right, yeah. And then we've also got Rodney, who's driving around in this old banger. It's backfiring, it's stalling and cutting out, making so much noise. And the bullies come across him outside of school, and they're like, well, they take over his car and they take it for a joyride. I mean, under the pretense of doing safety tests.
Yeah,
we'll test the brakes. We'll test the suspension. And they leave it in a right state. You just feel real sorry for Rodney, who's just like, he's already a poor student, and this is the only vehicle he's got. And it's the nice scene when you see him walking to school, and David tries to pick him up. And at first he's like, oh, you're here to bully me some more, or whatever. But he does eventually give him a lift. And you're like, it's actually nice seeing David helping out the little guy.
Yeah.
And that's where you kind of get drip-fed some information that him and Mark had a similar incident where David helped Mark out. And actually, if you go back and rewatch the film, in the opening sequence where, even though all the shots are spoilers for what's to come in the film, there's a shot in a tunnel, which isn't later in the film. And that makes me go, okay, that was David helping Mark before the events of the massacre.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'm like, okay, so this is the good Samaritan, the good guy, who's capable of standing up against multiple bullies at once. You're like, all right, so this is going to be one of those revenge films. Let's see how this plays out. And I was not expecting a sexual assault sequence in the middle of the school, in the middle of the day, in the classroom.
Yes. Yeah.
And on top of that, I've already said that the dialogue feels wonky or out of place or completely inhuman. Teresa walks in on this incident and then just sits down and then just tries to embarrass the attackers.
Well, it was the way that like the film had made the bullies up to be able to do whatever they want, and everybody's their like slave, whatever. And they're wanting Mark to, get to their level. But Mark is still trying to be friends with David and doesn't like the fact that David's going off on his own, which is causing more issues with him with the bullies. And so Mark was constantly like, I'm going to go talk to David. I'm going to go talk to David. Hey, guess what I'm going to do?
I'll talk to him. It'll all work out.
Okay, Mark. Talk to him.
I'm going to go talk to David. I'm like, stop talking to David.
I couldn't get anywhere, all right?
But it was that part where they were like, the bullies are like, oh, we're going to take, was it Mary and Jane? Mary Jane.
That is the only time in the film I actually got an uncontrolled outburst. It was like, what? They called them Mary and Jane?
Okay. It's the 70s, dude.
Yeah.
But Mark says to Teresa, like, look, I want to get out of here. I don't want to be around the school because he knows that they're going to try and rape these two girls and he doesn't want to get involved. And she's like, yeah, but I'm waiting for my two friends. And he lies to her. He's just like, well, you might not like them too much because actually they're going off to have a bit of a party with the bullies. And so she's like, okay, I'll go investigate this. Gets there. Here's her friend screaming like, stop and get off. And then just walks in the room all cash and sits down. And I'm like, is she really going to sit there and watch her friends get raped by these three guys? But she gets thrown out of the room by Bruce because he says, oh, if it wasn't for Mark, you'd be on there as well. And David just happens to come along. Now, David and Teresa have been building this relationship since the beginning of the film where
Teresa was the first one to actually acknowledge David and talk to him and show him where to go.
And she actually also, because he's not part of this clique, she likes the fact he's a bit of a free spirit. So here he comes. He wants to help her. So he rushes into the room. It's a terrible fight sequence.
Yeah.
Like the girls beating up the guy on the floor seemed more realistic than Bruce and David fighting.
Yeah.
But this has now obviously upset the bullies and has made David public enemy number one to them, but also the hero to the bullied kids. We'd also had Robert Carradine playing Spoonie caught drawing a swastika on a locker. And they're like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, it's free speech. And I'm thinking, you can't do that. No. I know it's kind of technically a peace symbol depending on how you paint it, but can you just write fuck on the wall or something?
Maybe I can explain it.
Go ahead.
It's a social protest.
But David saves the girls. They go walking out. And like you said, the dialogue's really bad because he comes out and you've got Mary and Jane. And I think it's Mary who's got a ripped top and her boobs on show. And he's like, shall I give you a lift? And they're like, no, we're fine. And they walk off.
And I was like, you were just sexually assaulted and you're just walking around with your breasts out now. Like, it's nothing. Like, what is going on?
What made me laugh, right, do you remember class of 1999?
Yeah.
Right? There were teachers in that and they actually cared for the students and what happened. Even when the teachers were cyborgs. In this, nobody gives a shit. Nobody stops these two girls walking out of the school with tops ripped and wondering, what the fuck happened.
Yeah, no one goes and calls the cops, say there was an attack. Nothing, never at any point.
It's not like even we get told that the bullies' dads have some money, their parents are kind of rich, and you're like, okay. But it's not like the bullies' parents run the town. No. And the townsfolk is getting. It's just like, no, we're just not going to. Maybe they just don't have budget to get more actors or anything.
Right.
But David chases after Teresa and he stops her and they have this chat. And he's like, look, Mark's my friend. I'm really supportive of Mark. And she's like, yes, me and Mark have been together for ages and we work really well in a relationship. And then it cuts to Mark in the van with the bullies and they're pissed off. They're bruised up. They're wanting to find David. And they come across his Jeep at the beach at night. And Mark, once again, being as super smart as he is, goes, hey, I'll talk to David.
And the bullies are like, this is your last chance to bring him on our side.
Yeah.
Better have him on ours than against us, right?
Right. So Mark takes a walk down to the beach. And there, in the waves, dancing and frolicking, are his girlfriend and his kind of close friend, both completely stark bollock naked.
Completely innocent.
Fucking. Bro. I don't think there's a single scenario where your friend and your girlfriend can ever skinny dip. Ever.
In an alternate reality like this movie.
Yeah, but you're
only then.
You're the boyfriend. You come down to the beach. How do you react? You don't go, oh, I'm missing out and strip off as well. You freak out. And this is what Mark does. Well, he doesn't fully freak out. He goes upstairs and once again lies to the bullies like, oh yeah, I talked to him and he's not on our side. So you guys are going to have to deal with him, but I don't want to get involved.
Right.
And you're like, oh, Mark, you evil bastard. But at the same time, I'm thinking, oh, Teresa's totally cheating on you.
Yeah. And so the fact that he didn't just send them right down there at that moment in time to go and execute David.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he does say that. He says, no, we can't do it now. We have to do it at some other point.
Yeah.
And David had been helping Rodney fix up Rodney's car. The bullies find out where David lives, goes to the garage, finds him there, and Bruce decides that the best way to hurt David is to drop a car on his leg.
Well, I mean, that'll do it. And so then for an undisclosed amount of time, he's recovering in hospital. And it's like the next day for us in the film. He's just back in school again.
Back in school with a limp.
Right.
He can't run anymore. We've been told for ages that the best way he gets to relieve all of his tension and pressure is that he runs. And that's what keeps him calm. But now he can't run. Oh, watch out. Because he goes to Paul's van. And the bullies had said that they like hang gliding. So at first you think David is cutting the brakes on the van?
Yeah, that's what I thought at first. But then you see them going hand gliding. I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
So this is where the killings begin. But then we just get loads of wonderful aerial shots.
Yeah.
And everyone's having fun, hand gliding. And then all of a sudden, whoop! He's immediately fried.
The way it was edited and the way the music was playing, I thought the big blonde guy was going to die because he sat there with his legs crossed and arms crossed and he's just like looking like he's got an ominous feeling. And then they killed Bruce.
The main bully.
I was like, yeah.
He went first.
He did look funny when he was on the wires. But it's like you don't actually see any more impact of that. It's not like you cut to the school the next day and everybody's like, oh my God, Bruce is dead and there's a funeral. It's like they just keep carrying on. And like Gary said, I started watching this. I'm like, oh, this kind of feels like Heather's. Like when the first Heather dies and they kind of just continue on. And so then David finds a note left for Craig, the swimmer, the bully that doesn't like him, that the swimming pool will be free. And so he sneaks there before Craig turns up, turns the lights off and empties the pool of water.
This is where I'm just like, so he's just decided to go diving when the lights are off, when he could have just gone and hit the lights himself. He didn't hear the absence of water in the pool. Nothing at all. Couldn't smell that the pool was empty.
Smell.
You can smell the chlorine, right?
Yeah, I suppose you should. No, man. It's like you said, it's an alternative universe movie. People's common sense was just left at the door. He was getting changed. He was like, oh yeah, common sense. I'll just leave it in my bag next to my fucking keys.
Stupid college kids. Yeah. So guess what happens? He dives into an empty pool.
He does.
And he dies.
It's quite nicely edited,
It's a slow motion.
Yeah, but it's the fact that you see his body next, with the pool of blood around him, and then all the students come in the next morning, they find the body, and they start talking, they've got to go find the principal, and, like we said, Paul, the big blonde guy, is now freaking out because both of his mates are dead, and he feels that it's David.
Yeah.
But still, Mark is a little bit unbelievable. He knows this can't be happening. 2 deaths at the same time of these 2 people. It's coincidental, but at the same time, set up.
Yeah. Well, this isn't a Final Destination movie. There is actually a killer out there, and it is David.
Yeah.
And now he's got his next target in mind.
He takes out Paul, knocks him out, throws him in the back, and then,
And then just pushes
takes the handbrake
van
off. Yeah, and pushes the van down. And we just watch the van careen down this hill you had Mark and Teresa at the beach with the bully, and the bully had been like, I'm staying away from you. I don't trust you. I think you're going to get me killed, or you're going to join the other people that we've been bullying all this time. Because you had seen after Bruce and Craig die that the social shift had started to change. The people that were being bullied before are now not taking any more shit from Paul. And he's like feeling like an outsider now. He feels weak. But watching him in this van, it's going down the hill and you're like, oh, if it goes over a cliff, it might explode.
But it hits the barrier and it goes round the corner.
I was like, oh, damn.
It was like at any moment he could get out the back door,
could
right?
have,
Could he
yeah.
not? Can he not get to the front of the van from where he was? Or is he just actually enjoying being bounced around in the back?
It looked like he had blood on his mouth.
Yeah.
But then it also looked like there was some rubbish in the back of the van. I felt like ketchup had just splattered him on the face.
Yeah, the actual colour of blood changes per character in this film.
Yeah. But the van does hit the barrier. It does roll down a hill. And then when it hits the bottom, kaboom! It was fucking
Brilliant.
awesome.
Love a good car explosion.
Yeah. But once again, nobody cares.
No.
3 people dead. I mean, what was it? Well, the most we hear is that the family want to sell one of the bullies' cars because it reminds them of their dead son.
So now Rodney's got it in placement of his old rundown. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's when we start to see the big social shift. Like, Mark has a confrontation with David at the top of this hill after Paul's death. And David says to him, well, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't me, but I'm coming for you. You're just going to have to wait and see. And he does take this information to Teresa. Like, we had the sex sequence on the beach between Mark and Teresa, and then literally right after, they're walking and he's upset because Bruce is dead. Yeah. And I was like, did you cry after the sex? Like, during? Like,
I'm going to say after, yeah.
Because I was watching the sex sequence and you seemed like you were having fun, but now you don't seem like you're having fun. But Teresa wants to speak to David. Even when he was in hospital, she wanted to speak to him and he wouldn't speak to her because obviously he has this whole plan. But they do have this bit of a confrontation, don't they? And David kind of says to her, like, okay, I won't hurt him. I won't hurt him if that's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
And so you think, as the audience, you're like, okay, well, we've still got, like, it's only an hour and a half movie, but we still got like 45 minutes to go. Like, where is it going to go now? And
yeah, the film kind of rushed through the bullying and then the execution of the bullies.
Yeah.
And then it's still got half the runtime to go. So you're like, well, yeah, which direction is it going to go in?
Yeah.
And, well, taking out all the bullies has created a power vacuum in the school. And so now those that were oppressed, they have their freedom. And what do, Iain?
They want to control each other.
They take the shoes of the bullies that were just taken out and the cycle repeats itself and we watch it slowly happen. And each of the ones that were bullied and became friends with David, instead of banding together, they all start forming their own little cliques.
And trying to get David on their side because they know if David doesn't like any of the other people, he'll kill them off.
And so they all kind of know that David's killed the previous bullies. No one goes to the police.
Yep. Yeah, no. Like the librarian guy, he's like, oh, David, we're the smart ones. David's like, I don't think so. I don't think this is a good idea. And the bully badmouths him and goes, well, that's because you're not very smart. And then you'll see that repeated with like Spoonie and Mary and Jane saying that they should take control. And he's like, I don't think this is a good idea. And they're like, well, you're just stupid. We know what we're thinking. And even his confrontation with Rodney, he's just like, Rodney, I thought you were going to be better than this. And Rodney's like, no, I was poor. I earned this. Which partly I was like, I kind of understand Rodney's point of view. But Rodney, don't you see, you have now become the new Bruce.
Yeah.
You're parking in his same spot in his car.
Exactly, yeah. And he's throwing bricks through windows of the other cars.
Yeah.
So you're like, what an asshole.
That's it.
And then the other guy that you felt sympathy for when he was being chased up the rope ladder and he was being towel whipped.
Oh, yeah.
Now he's blocking people on the stairs, dumping students in the hallways.
The food fight as well.
Yeah.
It's just absolute anarchy. And so now David, in his madness, and look, like I did like that line where somebody said, oh, you think there's a killer about? And he's like, oh, maybe there's a madman about. Ha. And I'm like,
no shit,
he's fucking psycho.
Yeah.
David, what do you think think is going on?
I think obviously somebody in this school is insane.
Like a psychopathic killer?
Yeah, I guess so.
So, I mean, it's now we're watching the hero become the villain.
Yeah.
And now he systematically starts taking out the rest of them.
Well, he also has that confrontation with Mark, doesn't he? Mark's like, I'm going to go speak to David again. But this time, he takes a gun.
Right.
You know?
Which gets taken right out of his hands instantly. And then him and Teresa get locked in the garage.
That's it. And that's setting up the final bit. But like you said, he's systematically taking out the other people.
So yeah, the guy in the library, he's got a hearing disability, so he puts his thing in, and then we hear this sci-fi shockwave just rupture his brain or something.
That's it.
He dies. Then you've got the larger guy opens up his locker, kaboom!
Fucking
locker explosion.
Bomb in a locker, yeah. And all the kids are like, we're out of here, and they fucking escape from the school.
He's taking them out like a gangster, you know? And then the car bomb.
The car bomb
like
one on Rodney. It's like, fuck.
Spoilers, the film showed us that car explode in the title sequence. I was like, God damn it, film.
Yeah. But that also leaves Spoonie and Mary and Jane. After the explosion in the locker, they were like, look, we're out of here. They get in their van and they drove off. And I was expecting their car to explode.
Right.
But it didn't. Rodney's did. And I'm like, oh shit, they got away. No. Mary, Jane and Spoonie, Robert Carradine. I've got to give Robert Carradine fucking credit for this. Like, he managed to wean himself into a shot where he's basically having a threesome with these two girls in a tent out in the woods.
Yeah, he's performing his own Spoonie experiment.
And I think it's Mary or Jane, the blonde girl. She comes out, she's naked, she's stretching, she's doing this thing, and I'm like, wow, this movie's got a lot of nudity in it. And she comes across some dynamite,
just laying about.
She's like, hey guys, look, and her girlfriend and Spoonie come out and they look, and he's like, oh, just leave it. It's probably somebody else.
Just toss it as well.
Yeah, it's just frozen. Let's go back to the tent and carry on having sex because all these people are dead at our school and the school's been closed. And then a boulder gets dislodged above them and crushes their tent, which I assume they're still inside. I don't see them come out.
No.
But like I said, we have that sequence where Mark confronts David about all these killings, and David's just like, well, I've got one more to do and you can't stop me. And Mark's looks like, well, I'm going to try to, and Teresa's there as well. And they both get locked in the garage. And David heads to the school. The school is still going ahead with its prom.
Despite all the death.
Yeah. There was one student who kind of partially, he survives to the end, but he does have one bit of conversation with David before this final sequence where he's like, hey, everybody else is dead. We should be the new rulers of the school. And so that spurns David to go, nope, I've got to blow up the entire school. I've got to kill everybody because I've created a monster. And so he goes there and we see the prom going ahead and we see all the adult teachers just dancing. Everybody seems to be having a whale of a time. 9 people have died in a space of 3 days.
Maybe that's why they're so miserable in there.
I don't know. I've been to some proms, man. They're pretty fucking miserable. But Teresa and Mark have escaped from the garage and they come up with the idea that David will not blow up the school while Teresa is there, because he's in love with Teresa.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's actually a bit of a twist there. I knew he had feelings, but if he does go ahead and blow up the entire school, then, well, were they wrong?
Yeah, that's why when they're still dancing and they're like, he won't blow it up, right?
Yeah,
he won't blow it up while I'm in here. I'm like, well, you better be right about this.
Right. And he has his moment, doesn't he? He says something, in about 3 minutes, this whole school's going to blow up.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we're staying. And David walks to the door. And I've got to give it to the actor, Derrel Maury. I don't think I've seen him in much else.
He's been in a fair amount of stuff. He actually went on to teach acting, wrote books on it, and then coached directors as well, I believe.
And I feel his character in this, as low budget and as schlocky and as badly written as this movie is, David started off as a good guy, got pushed too far, decided he was going to do something about it, and then realized the mistakes he'd made, and then redeems himself at the end here where he goes to leave the bomb in the school and then realizes he can't kill his friends. Races all the way back, gets the bomb, tries to get out of school. I mean, you're watching the guy act that he's only got a limp, so he's moving half as fast as he was at the beginning of the
Apparently
movie.
the actor injured himself a few times bouncing into things, and of course they left it in the film because, well, it looks real.
Looks fucking real, yeah. And he takes the bomb, he races outside the school with it, he tries to disarm it, but nope. Ba-boom!
Yeah. And then, of course, all the adults inside are like, oh, what was that?
Oh, what was that noise?
Let's go check.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a fire. Everyone back inside, let's carry on dancing.
Yeah.
And even though you can actually see the sirens.
The police are coming and everything,
Oh,
yeah.
wow, they do exist in this world.
And Teresa and Mark realize that they can't really tell people that David was going to do this.
What, they don't want to besmirch his good name.
Exactly,
This guy
yeah.
who's murdered like 9 people. Oh no. So they blame it on Spoonie and Mary Jane.
Yeah.
What?
They left the bomb. It was all
What
their
kind
fault.
of message is that to end the film on?
I don't know. The message was lost.
Like, we'll cover up all the shit, don't worry
I
about
lost
it.
the message when they were trying to rape those 2 girls in the classroom. Nobody did a fucking thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if the Italian one actually has a better message.
Yeah, maybe. Unlikely. It might be more entertaining, might be less entertaining. Might drag. I don't know.
No, it might, No, I was going to make a porn joke. I can't. No.
No. Well, Ian, what were your favourite scenes from Massacre at Central High?
There's not many because, like we said, it's kind of badly edited in places, and the music ruins a lot of really good shots, and the acting ruins even more of those shots. But I did like the bit where Mark was shouting for David after Paul had died in the van, and he's on top of this hill, and he's like, David! David! And David just literally appears off his screen like, hello, I'm here. And I'm like, wow, you did not see that guy there. Some of the deaths are pretty cool. Like we said, Rodney getting blown up by his car. You're like, oh man, that was a beautiful car. Oscar was the big guy who was blocking the stairs. And when he went to his locker, I did not expect them to blow it up.
I'm surprised he didn't take out half the corridor with him.
That's it. And I'm even more surprised that this movie isn't more talked about with some of the violence that is going on sometimes in schools, where they're like, look, this was the 70s, and look how easy it was for some guy just to slip a bomb into his locker. There's not really much else, not acting quality wise.
No, definitely not. I didn't appreciate the acting very much in the film. It was just serviceable or awkward to the point of funny. So,
but like I said, some of the shots were quite well captured with the sun, the setting, the beach, and the hang gliding stuff. I thought was really quite well done.
Fair enough. Yeah, I honestly didn't feel like any of the cinematography was very striking at all. I remember moments that happened in the film, but the visuals of the film, none of it really stood out to me in that sense. So none of the acting, none of the visuals, none of the music, none of the editing, none of the technical aspects of making a film were very, very strong in this. But they were still at a level of a cinematic quality, moreover than TV sort of quality, but still nothing really noteworthy. So trying to recall favourite scenes in this film, I don't really have any entire scenes, but I will just, because I like to, recap every death scene in the film, because those are the really memorable moments.
They are.
The hand glider, the guy getting electrocuted,
Yep.
guy diving into the swimming pool,
Yep.
the van going over the cliff, the hearing aid, the locker explosion, the car explosion, the cliff face collapsing and crushing the other 3.
Yeah.
Then the other explosion. The film's got a fair few explosions.
Yeah. I thought it was quite cool that, because when I realised at the end it was David exploding and that was the shot at the beginning, I thought, that's pretty nifty, putting the last shot at the beginning to throw the audience to go, what the fuck was that? And make them sit there to find out what it was.
Apparently the actor that played David said that he felt like if he was in charge of the film, he would have made that a little bit more ambiguous as to whether he did go up in that explosion or not, or whether we saw the explosion but he got away.
That would have been
setting
cool.
up sequels, but obviously there were no sequels to be made, and it ends here.
Like, would it be Massacre at Central High 2 or a different school?
Probably a different school. I'd like to think they would have shut this down, but certainly all went back into dance afterwards. Case closed.
Yeah.
Well, Ian, do you recommend Massacre at Central High?
I kind of want to, but then I feel if I do and you watch it, somebody's going to be like, Iain, you ruined an hour and a half of my life. So I'm not going to recommend this movie for entertainment purposes, but as a thing for film students, you know, or something to look at for like exploitation movies or like cheap horror movies of the 70s, it's up there. Like I said, the acting is bad. You know, the situational scenes that they get into and the scripts are bad, but there's a quirkiness to it. And when you're sat there listening to like this really weird 70s style music go along with what you feel is like a horrific kind of violent sequence, you sit there thinking, how the fuck did you even think that that was going to fucking work? So no, I'm not. Oh.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be recommending Massacre at Central High. It's worth a watch. It's a good revenge thriller with a mix of social commentary and political allegory and a heavy amount of exploitation. It's a fairly violent film, though it's not particularly gory. It has a good body count, some surprising deaths, and a fair share of nudity. The acting and the scripted dialogue is really where this falters. None of it sounded authentic or realistic, but then, in this film's world, there are no adults present, and so everything feels off-kilter anyway. It's almost unremarkable in terms of cinematography, nothing exciting, basic, but functional. The music score, though, feels as though it was made for a completely different film. It was distracting, and it almost spoiled the film. Terrible choice there. So all in all, I still enjoyed this. I'd never heard of it until recently, and despite my reservations, enjoyed what the film had to say. It reminded me of The Lord of the Flies and Heathers with a classic 70s exploitation mixture. Horror, thriller fans, this one is worth checking out. One brutal act began the terror. Thanks for watching Off the Shelf Reviews.
You're at the crossroads of your life. Crossroads of your life, and where you go from here is up to your life.